Good afternoon. Father Bob, if I could ask you to offer a greeting to everybody.
Yes, my name is Father Bob Bono. I'm a retired priest of the Diocese of Youngstown, Ohio. I serve now as the executive director of the Association of U.S. Catholic Priests. It's a national association, and we're very honored to collaborate with Guest House today to provide this webinar on an important dimension of pastoral care, helping families cope with addiction. I look forward myself to learning more than the little I know about that topic from Jeff J. I am confident it will also help me and my fellow priests to deal with our own addictive dispositions. So I am very pleased to be with Deacon Chris Stark from Guest House, who is the host of this special event. So I turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Father Bob, and good afternoon again, everybody. My name is Deacon Chris Stark, and I am the Director of Mission Advancement here at Guest House. And we have enjoyed for a number of years a collaboration with Mr. Jeff J. and his wife Deborah. They are subject matter experts on all things regarding intervention when people are suffering from addiction, as well as how to help those who are in need of treatment. And so when Father Bob and I spoke of what are some of the subject matter expertise that Guest House could bring to his membership, and then we open it up to a broader audience of people that just care about our clergy and women religious and men religious and seminarians, all of the audiences within the Catholic faith that we support through our treatment programs. It was a natural fit that we asked Jeff J. to be our featured speaker today. So with that, I just want to turn it over to Jeff J. and say that I'm going to keep everybody on mute so Jeff can speak without background noise, and he'll have some presentation materials for us to witness, and then we'll have an opportunity to speak again at the end. So Jeff, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Chris. And I want to thank Father Bob Bonneau for having me here today. And also want to thank Jeff Henrich, the CEO at Guest House, and really all the Guest House staff, like Deacon Chris Stark, who have helped make this happen today. I'm hoping that at some point I'll probably go to full screen because I am going to share a presentation with you. And hopefully that will go full screen at that time. We are going to be, in fact, I'm just going to jump right into it. And we will have time at the end to do some Q&A as well, I hope. And so I'm going to go right to my presentation. Okay, great. I just noticed that this presentation that I'm going to be showing all of you today does include some video and so forth. And the one option that is normally available to me is to optimize it for video. And for some reason, that was grayed out. I don't have any idea why. I hope it doesn't affect things adversely. So, what I want to talk to you about really is a way. I mean, look, we're all familiar with the fact that addiction is rampant in our society, and what we have done. This is really the brainchild of Deborah J., who I am fortunate to be married to, is come up with a way of getting really solid information to families. No one who's addicted lives in a vacuum. Get really solid information to families that will help them before doing an intervention, how to do an intervention, how to get someone into treatment, what to think about during treatment, and so forth. What we wanted to do is create something that would be very easy to share one person to the next. There are absolutely no commercial elements to this whatsoever. There's no link to a book or a link to a treatment center or anything like that. It is completely free to everyone, and I want to introduce some of the main ideas to you now, and hope that it will be a very good resource for you and the people who come to you looking for help. And the other thing that I really hope that you will find is we are all very busy. And I hope that Get Help, Give Help will make your job easier. It will make helping people who come to you for direction easier. And it will make it easier for you to accompany them on their journey without having to become a chemical dependency counselor or anything else. So let's jump right into it. Creating lasting recovery, both for people who are suffering from addiction and the family members that and friends that are around them, really takes all of us. So what we're talking about here is empowering our communities. We have a misconception that's pretty widely held out there that getting the alcoholic or addicted person into treatment is enough. That's really all we have to do. And that's false. To protect creation, to protect every man and every woman, to look upon them with tenderness and love is to open up a horizon of hope. It is to let a shaft of light break through the heavy clouds. It is to bring the warmth of hope. Love that that quote from Pope Francis, and it really speaks to the heart of what we're trying to do here. What is community? It's certainly not just a group of individuals. Community is actually the embodiment, or potentially the embodiment, of the common good. Addiction isn't just about the individual, it's about the family. And addiction is not just about the individual and the family, it's also about the community. My parents' dreams for me did not include addiction. I am a person in long-term recovery, and I'm very fortunate that someone who we would now call probably a family recovery advocate was able to bring some information to my parents who did not know what to do. And that helped to get me into treatment, and after treatment into long-term recovery, into the recovering community in my area, which is in cities and towns all over the country. I'm the little guy in the middle there, by the way, in between my parents. My mother is holding my cousin Glenn, who's just a little bit older than me. But if it had not been for that person who had just a little bit of the right information to give them, they probably would not have been able to intervene on me successfully. I was literally sleeping under bushes in the city parks out in California. And they would have not been able to get me into a hospital. They would have not been able to get me from there into treatment, et cetera, et cetera. So that little bit of help is still echoing through the years. So I want to show you a video right now, which I pray comes across well. And it will introduce you to Get Help, Give Help, and also toward the end of the video, how we can share this very easily. So here we go. We're doing something that's never been done before, not because it's not possible, but because no one had yet imagined it. But we knew something had to change, and it had to change now. That's when we came up with an idea. And with that idea, the answer became so obvious. We have created a way to answer the addiction crisis by unlocking the power of family. And we're doing it with a project called Get Help, Give Help. Our mission is to offer action-based solutions and make them available at no cost to everyone, everywhere.
We believe that the only way to move forward is by using technology to place the solutions, the answers, the road to freedom into the hands of every person who cares deeply about an addicted friend or family member. We don't see this as a novel concept, but as the way people everywhere will ultimately learn how to effectively free their families from addiction. Using Get Help, Give Help will bring recovery to families faster than it's ever done before, eliminating years of problems. We are doing this not just to save the addicted person, but to save us all.
Everything is on the website at gethelpgivehelp.info. There are 38 podcasts teaching families how to communicate with an addicted loved one in a way that has a very high success rate for getting them to accept help. There are 5-minute SNAP trainings that cover everything family and friends need to know as they go through the recovery process, before, during, and after treatment. There's information on how to find treatment, what you can do if you can't afford to pay for treatment, and how to avoid con artists and other pitfalls when searching for treatment online. There are SNAP trainings on how to talk to a loved one in treatment, how to talk to a loved one's counselor in treatment, and what to do if a loved one wants to leave treatment early. There are SNAP trainings on what needs to happen once a loved one returns home, what it means when we talk about recovery, and all the elements required for working a solid recovery program. There are SNAP trainings on what creates lasting change and what doesn't. We cover ways families and friends can build a positive social norm for recovery, making relapse much less likely. And this just scratches the surface. Family and friends will find SNAP trainings on every possible topic our team knows about. And that's a lot, because when we combine the years our team has worked with alcoholics, addicts, and their families, we have over 90 years of professional service. So we not only have an abundance of information, we have hard-earned wisdom to pass along. And all of this never costs anybody anything ever. It is free to anyone who wants it.
But Get Help, Give Help reaches directly into the places where addiction lives. It goes directly to ground zero. The families, the homes, the churches, the neighborhoods. What if anyone who is concerned about anyone, mother, father, sister, brother, child, friend, had a complete roadmap at their fingertips with a depth of sophistication and broad practical instruction that makes it exceedingly difficult for addiction to win? But we cannot do it alone. We all need to get involved, and it's really simple. We don't need to learn anything. It doesn't interrupt our busy lives, and it can always be with us. And because it can always be with us, we just point people in the right direction, sending them to Get Help, Give Help. We say, I know where you can find everything you need to know, and it won't cost you anything. And we've designed a super easy way for you to share Get Help, Give Help, making it a complete no-brainer. We explain it all on the website.
Today, addiction sits in the center of all of our lives. When you look across America, most families have at least one addicted loved one. And for those who don't, they are paying the price just the same. Our money, our communities, our country, we all pay because addiction continues to thrive, largely unchecked.
And because churches across this country are centered upon the power of community and the power of family, churches are the vehicle we are using to spread Get Help, Give Help. From diocese to parish to community, we want to stretch out our hand and provide meaningful help that changes lives and heals families. Pope Francis said it all in just a few words: no one is saved alone. So that's our introduction, and it really does take us all to save our beloved addicts, our families, and our communities. And we're going to talk more about that as we go along. I want to talk first about what we are actually up against. There are 29 million Americans who are addicted to alcohol or other drugs. That's the combined populations of Denmark, Austria, Greece, and Panama. 76 million Americans are affected by addiction in their families. That's more than 1 in 4 Americans. And 6.6 million are children. Just a little word about the children. Children's brains are being affected by their parents' use of alcohol and other drugs. Children's brains really can't wait. We need to get their parents into treatment and into recovery uh, as quickly as we can, really. Families cannot wait. We really need to get the help out there. Knowing how to defeat addiction is knowing how to save families. That's our goal here, is to get the knowledge in a usable place. Addiction costs our country $520 billion every year. That's a stack of $1 bills 35,000 miles high. The tallest building in the Western Hemisphere is only 1/3 of a mile high. And what is that $520 billion paying for? Well, alcohol is still our number one problem, although opiate addiction often gets more headlines, but alcohol is still the number one problem. And teens, by the way, drink 11% of the alcohol that is sold. 1 in 8 Americans, one in 8 adults is alcoholic. That's 15.4 million. Marijuana has the second highest rate of dependence after alcohol. It's not physical dependence like alcohol or heroin, but rather psychological dependence, which is actually even more powerful. That's 4 million addicted pot smokers age 12 and older. Prescription painkillers are the third biggest addiction problem. These pills account for 2.4 million opiate addicts. And 7 million people are addicted to all other illegal drugs, excluding marijuana, which has been decriminalized or is completely legal in many places. That's what we're paying $520 billion to deal with, and it's really not getting better. Very few ever get treatment. We just keep covering the costs, and families keep living in the pain. This problem is crowding out the American dream. Can we say that fewer people are on drugs? Are we reducing the number of alcoholics? Are most addicted people getting treatment? Are fewer people relapsing after getting treatment? Are most families getting good guidance for helping those they love? And that's the key, good guidance. We're not changing the numbers. It doesn't have to be this way. We need to reimagine how we are going to address the addiction crisis. And the simplest solution can be the most powerful. And it really doesn't have to cost anything. In fact, we've already done it. All the infrastructure is in place. gethelpgivehelp.info is the website that we're talking about. As I've said, and I want to keep emphasizing, it's completely non-commercial. You can go through it backwards and forwards. You won't find any links out to anything that's anything, with the exception of some Sesame Street videos for kids. And even then those are free, of course. So let's take a look at it. Let's learn how we actually do this thing. What will people find if they go on the website? Well, in the Get Help section, they're going to, if they go to the Get Help section, there are major areas. First, what do you need to know before treatment? What do you do if you have insurance? What do you do if you have no insurance? How do you do planning? How do you select a program? The next major section is how do you intervene with love? Here are step-by-step instructions. This section alone is over 3.5 hours of podcasts, which we call the intervention workshop. What to expect during treatment. Families and friends really have a very important role to play here, and we want to give them good instruction on that. Next is creating long-term recovery. Still more podcasts on working together for lasting recovery and how to make that durable. How does that work? And finally, don't forget the children. As we've already noted, their brains are being adversely affected by living in the toxic stress of an addicted household. Little peek into the intervention workshop here. If you click through to that area of the website, you will find 38 one-topic podcasts that walks families through the intervention process. How to use love and concern in a specific and organized way to break through your loved one's defenses and denial and bring them to a moment of clarity where they will accept help, including 20 frequently asked questions. It's really pretty exhaustive. It's nearly 4 hours of training, and it's more than you would get from most professionals, frankly. Don't forget the children, another favorite part of the website here. If you click through to this section, you will find videos from Sesame Street about dealing with parental addiction. These were developed with the great Jerry Moe, who is really a national treasure. He works for the Hazel and Betty Ford Foundation. And these videos are just wonderful, bringing a lot of comfort and support to young kids who find themselves in this situation. So we really tried to cover all the bases. These SNAP trainings are for families and friends, and obviously cover a very wide range of topics. So I want you to listen, just so you get a feel for it. We've really put a lot of time into producing these podcasts. This is how I spent my winter vacation, actually. So let's imagine that this is the brother of someone who is addicted, and he's trying to figure out, they've finally gotten his brother into treatment, and he is maybe wanting to leave. So we're going to listen to a minute or two of one of the SNAP trainings here on dealing with somebody who's in treatment. Let's take a listen.
You are listening to Get Help, Give Help, helping families all across America.
Treatment and recovery is difficult. There's just no two ways around it. So let's talk about how to get through those rough parts. Let's talk about how to get through the ups and downs of treatment and early recovery. Hi, my name's Jeff J., and I want to take a little time to address this topic. I went through treatment myself many long years ago, and in the first couple of weeks, I wanted to leave every other day. My parents and the treatment team really had to talk me down and get me to commit to staying one more day and one more day and one more day until I really got into the swing of things. I want you to know that this is not unusual. Most people go through an emotional roller coaster early on in treatment, where 1 minute they're thinking it's the best thing they've done for themselves in a long time, and a few hours later they want to leave, and they want to leave right now. What I want to stress is that when an alcoholic or addict wants to leave treatment early, it's due to a few different things going on with them, all of which are normal and expected. You as a family member need to be prepared so that your loved one doesn't hoodwink you into going along with their ill-advised plan. First, when people want to leave, they are invariably experiencing some form of cravings to drink or drug again. As we used to say, So I won't go through the whole podcast, but this is the kind of thing that the brother is going to be hearing, and it's going to really help him deal with the family member he's got in treatment so that he says the right thing and continues to support him through the process. The next section of the website is, in a way, the most interesting or at least different, and that is, how do we share this information from one person to the other? Well, you might think, it's a website. I can text it to somebody, or I can give them the web address. Well, that's not actually very helpful, and it doesn't work well. It would be better if it was right on their phones. And it is so easy. Um, I hope that when all of you are done with the webinar today, it's going to be on your phone, because I'm going to take you through it. So let's take a look. Because, one thing I want to stress before I go to the next slide, most people are not therapists, they're not trained, but we can certainly learn how to point people in the right direction and make sure that they have the resources, not just, here's a little something, or you ought to read this book. It's time to take things into our own hands. And it is simple. We share these family solutions, one person to the next. That's how it really works, one person to the next. And we grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it, hand to hand and hand to hand, until everyone becomes a family recovery advocate, just like the person who helped my parents way back when, by doing one simple thing: empowering families to use love, energy, and time in ways that really work. And it's all in the palm of our hand. Oh, you may be thinking, what if I'm not tech savvy? I don't have a smartphone. Maybe you're a completely no tech person. It's okay. Or maybe only vintage tech. Don't worry, we got you covered. So let's talk about this. How do we share it? I'm kind of excited to show you this next little bit. We want you to be able to share gethelpgivehelp.info with anyone who needs it. That's how you become a family recovery advocate. Just share the website with anyone who wants to help their loved one find recovery. Or you might share it with someone who wants to become a family recovery advocate. You could just text them the website, but that's not a very good way to do it. We've made it much easier. Let's make the website really accessible for you. There's gethelpgivehelp.info right on your iPhone. And if you want to save it as a button or an icon on your home screen, you'll touch the share button right there at the bottom of the screen. When you touch it, a sheet comes up and you'll scroll down until you see Add to Home Screen. Touch that. It shows you what it's going to add. And when you touch Add, it will go to the first open space on your phone, on your desktop. Just touch it. You'll always be able to get right to the website without even remembering the web address. It's very similar on an Android device. The Add button here will be in the upper right-hand corner, those three buttons. It will still be Add to Home Screen on the little sheet there, and then you'll confirm it on an Android normally twice, and then it goes right to your desktop in the same way it did with your iPhone. There it is, the little button in the first open spot, and when you touch it, you'll always be able to get immediately to gethelpgivehelp.info. So how do we share it? Sharing is built right in. You've got the website on your phone now as a button. So now another person with a smartphone can open the camera on their phone to get the website. The front page of the website has something at the bottom that allows you to share it with anyone. It's called a QR code, and you may have seen something like this before. Watch how easy this is. just have the other person touch the camera icon on their phone like they were going to take a picture, and then they bring the QR code into view. See what happens? Their phone recognizes the QR code and asks if they want to open the website. Yes! They touch the message to confirm, and voila, the website opens. Now they can access the intervention workshop, the SNAP training, and all the resources for helping their loved one find recovery. That's getting help. And you've just given help. You don't need to be a techie type person to be a family recovery advocate. We've got you covered on the website. Go up to Give Help, and then it'll take you to a page, and you will scroll toward the bottom, and you'll find a resource sheet that you can print out right there. This is what it looks like. You'll print it on your computer, and it will come out of your printer looking just like this with the QR code that we've talked about and the website address. You'll cut it and trim it to sheets that you can put into your wallet and share with other people who need to get help. Just like that, you can become someone who can play a pivotal role in changing a family's future. Whether you use your smartphone or a simple slip of paper, you can give them all the information they need to get started. And you don't need to know any more than what this video has taught you. You can also inspire others to become family recovery advocates by sharing the gethelpgivehelp.info website with them. Together, we can spread recovery across America. So, if you have a smartphone, I'm going to ask you right now to pull it out. Just take out your smartphone, because we're going to get this thing on your phone just the way we just showed it. So pull out your smartphone, and I'm going to give you just a little video refresher of what we're going to do. This one is like 20 seconds long. Pretend you're going to take a picture. Touch the camera app on your phone. When the QR code comes into view, see what happens? You get a notification. Do you want to open this website? Yes, just touch it. The website opens right away. Okay, so pull out your smartphone like you're going to take a picture, and when you see that notification, touch it. For almost all of you, it should work automatically. You will see a little thing, and it'll open the website for you. Now, if you scroll the website just a little bit, and I'm going to go through the iPhone people first. If you scroll the website just a little bit and then back towards the top, this share button will appear at the bottom. It's a little square with an arrow. Go ahead and touch that. And then there's a sheet that pops up, and you need to kind of pull it up from the bottom until you see Add to Home Screen. And go ahead and touch that. You'll get a little notification saying, do you want to add this to your home screen? And you say yes, and it will be on your home screen. And you'll have that button ready. You'll have the website ready to share automatically. You don't have to worry about remembering, oh, what was that web address? Was it Get Help, Give Help, or was it Give Help, Get Help? You don't have to remember anything. If you have an Android device, when you pulled up the website to get the share, to get the thing to put it on your home screen, it will likely be at the top. When you're scrolling the thing up and down, you'll see 3 dots up at the top, although with some Androids, it will be at the bottom like the iPhone. And you'll just touch it, and a little share sheet will pop out. Once again, you choose Add to Home Screen, and there you go. You've got a little icon on your phone. So, and it normally just goes to the first open space. So when you look on your home screen, wherever your first open space was, you'll now see a little icon, which is a direct, all you have to do is touch it and it'll take you right to the website. You never have to remember a darn thing. So now, if someone confides in you and says, gee, I, I've, somebody in my family has, really got a problem, you can whip it out. You can bring up that QR code and said, listen, I'm going to turn you on to something right now. Pull your phone out. You're going to get this website on your phone. You're going to get hours and hours of free instruction. And because that's what people need. They're dealing with so many myths and misconceptions and really bad information out there, or just information that's trying to hawk a website or a service or something like that. This is something they can actually use. And so that's what they'll do. They'll touch their camera app, they'll scan the thing, they'll put it on their desktop. Um, and once again, if you uh, are allergic to tech, you can go to the website on your computer. You can go to gethelpgivehelp.info on your computer and just print out that resource sheet, trim it to size, and put one of those little sheets in your wallet and really accomplish the same thing. This QR code can really be put on anything. Um, it can be, on a T-shirt. It can be on a bulletin. It can be on somebody else's website. Anywhere that you want to spread this. And the QR code, of course, will always bring us to the website. So how do we actually spread the word? What I find is that this is something that people talk about. When someone finally confides in you, and of course, as clergy, you are in a unique position. Um, and you can't realistically become, the overnight alcohol and drug counselor. You can't all of a sudden, make hours a week to try to guide people through a preparation process, an intervention process, support during treatment, support after treatment. This is a way to make your job easier, and I hope make everyone's job easier. We just say something like, here, this is where you start. When someone comes to us and says, I just don't know, my spouse has just gone over the cliff with prescription medication. They're just, unreachable. I don't know what to do. Here, this is where you start. Here, this is where you start. Let me help you get this on your phone. You can listen to these podcasts when you're in your car driving, when you're doing chores around the house. Whenever you have free time, you can learn everything that you need to know. And then, of course, they'll just create the button on their phone, and they'll always have it with them. And they'll be able to share what they have learned. And it goes from person to person to person. It's great for a conversation starter. Ask others to help by putting the website button on their phones. It's like carrying around a huge resource just right in your pocket. And you'll be surprised how many people will open up about someone in their lives. Although I guess as clergy, maybe you won't be surprised. Can you imagine if we had all kinds of people sharing Get Help, Give Help, and we were actually getting people into treatment, keeping them into treatment, getting them into the recovering community, keeping them in the recovering community, walking with them on their walk, because family members learn that they need to be working their own 12-step program as well in Al-Anon. Okay, so we're going to get everybody on the walk to recovery because it affects everyone in the household. I want to tell you a little story. I mentioned Deborah J before, the person that I'm fortunate to be married to, and she is the brains behind Get Help, Give Help. Well, she was flying to Los Angeles to give a talk, and she was getting her car from the Hertz rental counter, stood in line, gets up to the front of the line. There's a young woman behind the counter taking care of her, and she's trained to be friendly, of course. And she asked Deborah, "Well, what are you, in town for?" And Deborah said, "Well, I'm giving a talk." And the young woman said, "Well, what are you giving the talk about?" And Deborah said, "Well, I'm giving the talk about addiction and recovery and intervention and families." And the young woman started to tear up right there at the Hertz rental counter and said, "My brother is addicted to drugs. It is killing my mother. Neither one of us know what to do." Well, Deborah's standing there in line. There's, a half dozen people behind her. And what did she do? She just shared the Get Help, Give Help website with her. Boom, in 30 seconds. And the young woman by this time was literally crying and said, "I think that God meant for you to be my customer today. Thank you so much." And we know that that young woman got a great source of support and instruction. We all know the saying that knowledge is power, but action-based knowledge is what really constitutes power. That's what this is all about. We can change the world, but it's always one family at a time, one person at a time. That's the way change really works. I think that's the way God really works. Desmond Tutu had a great line: "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." So that brings me to the end of our presentation, and I'm glad to be back speaking with you again, face to face. And I think now we may have time for questions. I think the way that's going to work is if you have a question or a comment, you might be able to unmute. I'm not sure what the rules are on this Zoom. If
Yeah,
not, you can put a question.
yeah.
Oh, great.
If you wouldn't mind, if you could send me a chat, and then I'll ask the questions of Jeff. And one question has come in, Jeff, and that is, does the website allow for translation to other languages? Is there a Spanish option, for example?
There is not a Spanish option because the information is delivered via podcast. If it were written, you could use like Google Translate and stuff like that, and you can do that in a limited way. But the answer to the question, unfortunately, is no. Mainly because neither Deborah nor I speak Spanish.
Fair enough. Okay, so if you do have questions, if you could use the chat function on your screen. All right, well, I see one person raising his hand asking to ask a question, so I'm going to unmute.
Go for it.
Hi, Tony. Tony, I've got you unmuted, but you must have yourself muted too, because I still don't hear you.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. I have two sources that also may be helpful for clergy. One is NACOA, National Association for Children of Addicted, NACOA.org, a very rich website. And the other is a handbook for clergy entitled Preventing and Addressing Alcohol and Drug Problems. It was put out by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's just a thin booklet. I think that NACOA was a big influence on making that happen.
All right.
And in that handbook, there is included core competencies for clergy and other pastoral ministers in addressing alcohol and drug dependence and the impact on family members. The Johnson Institute and NACOA brought over 20 clergy to Washington, D.C. in early 2003, and this was the consensus on these were clergy relating somehow to one of the chemical dependency fields. But core competencies for clergy and other pastoral ministers. It's just a list, I think, maybe 15. But I think core competencies, handbook for clergy, and NACOA would be additional rich resources for clergy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, NACOA especially is great, and they were also, I believe, part of the collaboration for those Sesame Street videos for children. That's really their mission, and they're wonderful.
Any other chats that somebody wants to type into me?
Or just unmute and have at it.
Or yes, or if you could give me a, is there a use for this? So the question is there a use for this in parish meetings? Is there a way to utilize the website in parish meetings?
Yes, and in fact, we're going to produce just a kind of a standalone video of this presentation. Actually, the recording from today would work just as well, because the idea is to get these resources in everybody's hands, get the kind of instruction manual, because that always seems to be kind of the barrier of, how much do I have to learn? How, am I going to say it right? Am I going to say it wrong? Am I going to somehow, and you can just skip over all that. So the answer is yes. Even probably playing the video of today's presentation would help.
I have a question on that. Following up to that, would this be useful in something like AA groups? Where perhaps there are members of families, but the families are dysfunctional. And so the individual, it seems to me, in many of the AA groups are dependent on that community as sort of their family. So does this app and your program, could it actually benefit that AA program, which seems to have been wonderfully successful over the decades?
AA doesn't have outside literature or outside input like this. So the answer would be no. It wouldn't be in AA or Al-Anon or Narcotics Anonymous or any of those, to answer your question.
Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing it, say, in a pastoral setting. It's really a direct connection with members of a family if there's someone in the parish who is struggling with an addiction. That the way we can help the family is go directly to the family.
Right. I mean, really, if the family comes to you and they've got a problem, or conversely, there can also be, if there is a group of people within the parish who is, they're just interested in being that kind of family recovery advocate. They're just interested in having that information right on their phones. Then that can be a great thing for them too, because, the website, on the one hand, it's got the help for the families, but on the other half of it, it's, how can you carry this on your phone? How do you do it? How do you transmit it? And the instruction that you've seen today is all on the website as well. So it can work both ways. People who want to be helpers, family recovery advocates, and people that are actually wrestling with it in their families.
Jeff, I do have a couple of questions I want to throw out that I've received through chat. One is, how do we get the video from today's presentation? And today's presentation will actually be uploaded onto our guest house website, but it'll also be shared with Father Bob for the association's website. So either our website or Father Bob's website would be a conduit for that access to what you saw today. And the next question, Jeff, is there any collaboration between this website information and the NIAAA? And I don't know.
No, there's not. The National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. There's no direct collaboration with them at all. That's a research-based organization similar to NIDA, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, but they're more alcohol-focused, and they are kind of a funder and a funder of research, and also a kind of a place where all research is brought together too around alcoholism. But anyway, but there isn't a link to them. We actually tried not to get into the business of any linking, because it ends up being, very problematic sometimes. It's a little bit inside baseball in the addiction treatment field, but we wanted it to be completely clean. We did link to the Sesame Street videos, but that's all. Because some people will say, well, I don't like SAMHSA, or I don't like NIAAA, or I don't like what NIDA is doing. So I don't, there can be a lot of inside baseball politics. So we just made it completely clean and just tried to focus on helping the families directly with information that everybody in the field knows is solid.
Just another question. I noticed that it sounded like it was a podcast. It was just your kind of narrative with a static picture. So are many or most of the resources on your website mainly audio without kind of live video that's accompanying the audio?
Yes, that's right. We made a conscious decision, although we had many of these hours of these things on video too. Podcast is the way people like to do it now. They do it while they're doing the dishes, while they're driving their car, while they're doing this, that, and the other thing. Mm-hmm. It just seems to be more popular now than video. So the answer is yes, we put everything in audio. Now, I will say that with the intervention workshop, there are also some downloadable text materials, but those are ancillary materials. Everything is really podcast.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, if there's no further questions, I'm going to hand it off to Father Bob again for our closing.
Well, I would just like to say on behalf of the Association of U.S. Catholic Priests, our title is AUSCP. We sometimes just say AUSP. We try to be auspicious in positive and constructive ways. And I want to thank Guest House for enriching us in providing this webinar. One of our primary purposes is to strengthen the pastoral dimension of our priesthood and those who are serving in priesthood. And I think this is a wonderful contribution to our pastoral ministry. The video, as was mentioned by Chris, will be available and posted on our website probably within the week, if not sooner. And we have a variety of others that we are just beginning to accumulate there. So I do hope that others might visit the website, which is AUSCP.org. So I thank Chris very much and Guest House very much for enabling this webinar to take place. And Jeff, I really enjoyed your presentation and your program. I think it's really a wonderful, wonderful thing. And the fact that it's not commercial, I think makes it even more wonderful. So much credit to you and to your wife, Deborah. So with that, I think we can sign off and say, God be with you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And Jeff, great
Thank
job
you.
today. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless.
Mhm.